York City Mayor Eric Adams is facing federal charges after being indicted by a grand jury. Those charges have just been unsealed. They include bribery, wire fraud, conspiracy, and accepting improper campaign contributions for nearly a decade. I want to bring in senior investigative correspondent Aaron Katersky, who's there at City Hall. Aaron, what's the latest on these charges?
Well, they are, as you outlined, Diane. They include bribery, wire fraud, conspiracy to commit wire fraud, and soliciting improper foreign campaign donations. And importantly, these involve not only his time as mayor and while he was running for mayor, but the charges predate even that and stretch back nearly a decade to conduct that's alleged while he was the borough president in Brooklyn. And it had long been rumored that there was alleged corruption at the time Adams was the Brooklyn borough president, but he has never been charged until now. The indictment contains images of hotel suites and other benefits that the mayor allegedly took as he was soliciting some of these donations. And the charges also say that he accepted donations from Turkey in exchange for taking an official step, and that is trying to get the fire department to speed up its inspection of the new Turkish consulate across from the United Nations on the east side of Manhattan. That had long been understood to be part of the investigation, but these charges make clear the conduct, as alleged, is much broader than that, Diane.
And Mayor Adams has denied all wrongdoing. How is he responding now that this indictment's unsealed?
We haven't heard from the mayor since the indictment was unsealed mere minutes ago, but we do expect the mayor to make remarks outside Gracie Mansion, where he's been huddled with advisors, attorneys, and aides. The mayor, in remarks before the indictment was unsealed, called these charges entirely false. He insisted he's innocent, and he suggested that this is political because he was critical of the Biden administration over the way it handled the migrant crisis. There's no evidence of that, and the U.S. Attorney Damian Williams is expected to address the charges himself a short time from now.
And I want to bring in ABC News legal contributor Brian Buckmeyer, too. Brian, how significant are these charges, for one? And what do you make of what the mayor has said about the allegations in general so far? Now, it looks like we don't have Brian. We'll try to get him back. But, Aaron, let's go back to some of the backstory here, because this comes after a string of searches and even resignations of top city officials. Are you seeing anything in the indictment that indicates more charges could come down?
Well, I'm still going through it. It's 57 pages, but Mayor Adams is the only defendant named in this indictment. So for all of the searches and seizures involving other top city officials of late, the federal prosecutors have chosen to indict only Mayor Adams, at least for now. That doesn't mean charges couldn't be superseded. There could be additional defendants, but for now, the mayor is the only one. We should say that even before the indictment was unsealed, federal agents arrived at Gracie Mansion to give the mayor a summons to appear in court. We still don't know when that date will be, but we believe it'll be early next week. He was also searched again at Gracie Mansion, and there was a subpoena for his electronic devices. So now twice in less than a year, Mayor Adams has had his devices seized by federal agents, an indication that perhaps they think some of the conduct may be ongoing.
Aaron, what do you make of that timing, them issuing that search and seizing his phone, for example, on the same day that they're issuing this summons for him to appear in court?
Well, the mayor's not happy about it. I've heard from a number of his aides who said, including his lawyer, who said, if they had just asked us, we would have given over the phones. The mayor has been cooperative. He has said he would cooperate. But federal agents don't really roll that way. If they're going to arrive at a location expecting to seize evidence, they're going to go in with a search warrant, a subpoena, and not necessarily wait for a defendant to cooperate. So I think it's fairly common practice, even though the mayor is taking it as an aggressive step.
Aaron, put this into context. How significant is this from a history standpoint for this city? The first time we're now seeing a sitting mayor indicted.
There have been 110 men who have served as mayor of New York City. Until now, none of them had been accused of a crime, let alone a federal crime, while in office. So this is an unprecedented case. Mayor Adams is the first sitting mayor to face criminal charges. He is going to fight them, but he has been under investigation for about a third of his tenure. He's 3 years into a 4-year term, and he is facing a number of calls from within his own party for his resignation. So far, the mayor says he is going to continue to lead the city he was elected to lead.
And we have ABC News legal contributor Brian Buckmeyer joining us now. Brian, what's your reaction seeing the way this indictment has been handed up and the charges that prosecutors are listing here?
Yeah, Diane, so I am still combing through these some 57-page indictment with 5 counts. I'm somewhat shocked when I start reading the first pages and I see that this investigation spans back to, I believe, 2014, back when Eric Adams was a Brooklyn borough president, then giving us some updates from 2018, and then following into the 2021 election. This seems, as Aaron was alluding to, an investigation and criminal activity that allegedly spans back about a decade now. And so to look and see how he's being charged, what he's being charged with, and just the volume of information. Again, I'm still working through about 57 pages. This is somewhat shocking to me, and I'm interested to really get into the details of it.
And Brian, we haven't heard yet from the mayor since the indictment was unsealed. But he has talked in general, responding to the allegations that have come out of these investigations and essentially denied all allegations up until this point. So how do you expect his attorneys to mount a defense to what's in that indictment, or at least the part of it I've allowed you to read so far? I know you guys are going through this while we're literally on the air. But how do you think he's going to defend against this?
Difficult. In my quick scan of the indictment, I'm seeing that there are photos of the lavish lifestyle that allegedly the Turkish government gave to Eric Adams. I'm also seeing some correspondence that look like text messages between individuals, and we know that a number of cell phones, a number of electronics were taken. So correspondence and communications between people are going to be at the heart of a case like this. The only thing I can think about arguing in a case that has conspiracy to commit fraud, wire fraud, solicitation of contribution by a foreign agent, and bribery is lack of knowledge. That Mayor Adams was doing his job, wasn't aware of where the money was coming from or where it was going to or for the purpose of it, that he thought this was all above board. But as I read these allegations, as I look at what they're investigating, I think that would be very difficult.
And we're looking there at live images of Gracie Mansion in New York City. We are expecting to hear from the mayor, hear his response to this indictment, and now knowing that the city is aware of the charges that federal prosecutors are filing against him.